Oh, e un OLTCIT. E un OLTCIT. Stop, domnule, stop. Ajutați-mă, sunt pierdut. Domnule, ajutați-mă, sunt pierdut. Putem să mergem, da? Da, putem să plecăm, puteți să mă luați, da? Mulțumesc, domnule! Mulțumesc! Noroc!
Cu plăcere!
Noroc! Un OLTCIT, sunt salvat! M-a salvat domnul ăsta! Uitați-le la el! M-a salvat! Mulțumesc, domnule, și noroc! Hello and welcome back. I'm not actually in Romania, and this is not actually an OLTCIT. Well, technically it is, but it isn't. I'm gonna dive into that later. This is an OLTCIT axle, OLTCIT. Well, same thing anyway. This is a Citroen axle from 1988, one of the last Citroen axles for the French market produced. It's the car of a very good friend of mine, Axel, which is funny because he's called Axel and he has a Citroen Axel. You know what I mean? It's funny. Anyway, he's very passionate about these cars and he has multiple of the Citroen Axel. And he also helped a Dutch guy to translate a book about the Citroen Axel, which I'm gonna get for you right now. This one. Someone actually wrote a book about this car. Why? So, what do we have here? It's a Citroen Axel Entreprise, which is the professional version of the Citroen Axel, which has no back seats and it has a flat floor and a lot of room for charging. This is a pretty advanced car for its era. It was designed in the 1970s by Citroen. It has very good ideas. It has very advanced technologies used. The error Citroen made is that they sold the project to Romanians and the Romanians kind of ruined it. The Citroen Axel starts out life as a project to replace the aging Citroen Ami 8 at the beginning of the 70s using engines from the GS and the 2CV. It was designed by Robert Aupron, who was the designer of many other notable Citroen cars, and is a 100% Citroen project. It is ready in 1974. Unfortunately, in 1974, Citroen goes bankrupt and gets bought by Peugeot. The Project Y was ready, but thanks to Peugeot's buyout, it ends up at the bottom of a drawer. Peugeot forces Citroen to adopt the 104 platform for the middle small car project. This gives birth to the Visa, which has a derivative exterior design of the Project Y without any common parts. The Visa resembles the Axel and not the other way around. In 1976, a certain Nicolae Ceausescu arrives in power in Romania. If you are not familiar with Nicolae Ceausescu, I urge you to read or watch something about him and you will understand more about this very strange person. The ambitious dictator he wants to build cars like any big Western nation. Romania already had Dacia, which built Renault licensed products. But they desperately needed a small car for the people, because the Dacia 1310 was based on the Renault 12, which was a big sedan, or also a wagon. So the director of Citroen, George Taylor, he was from Romanian descent, proposes the Project Y to Ceausescu, complete with a whole assembly line and, of course, with parts of the production of the Citroen Axle sold in the West. Other Eastern Bloc manufacturers, just as FSO or Lada, who built Western licensed products, mostly from Fiat, sold their car in Western Europe. And also Škoda in Czechoslovakia, who built their own products, no licensed products, and also sold them in Western Europe. The goal of the cooperation of Dacia and Renault and Citroen and OLTCIT was not only to provide the Romanian people with a car, with a means of transport, it was also to do industrial espionage. The West gave technologies to the East to build license-built products, and the goal was to use these technologies to build their own cars, but without paying the license agreements. The contract between Romania and Citroen included the construction of the factory, which took way too long because of complicated Romanian bureaucracy. It was finished in 1981. Meanwhile, the Project Y is modernized by the French and becomes the Project TA. Most notably, the three-door layout was adopted, which resulted in a more sturdy construction of the body, which was more adapted to the rough Romanian roads. Finally, the OLTCIT is presented in 1981 in Bucharest at Târgul Internațional din București. The logo of OLTCIT is, as you can see, a mix between O from Oltenia, the region in which the OLTCIT factory was located, and the Citroen logo, which they only took one chevron. The production at the beginning is still very slow because of problems with the factory. It is impossible for the Romanians to follow the ambitious goals set by the contract between Citroen and OLTCIT. The 130,000 cars per year goal was just a big utopia by then. The first OLTCITs were almost built by hand, by unexperienced factory workers. In 1984, the Axel is presented in France. Already an outdated project with an engine from the 70s. It also had big concurrence in the Citroen range. The Visa, the LNA, and the 2CV. The Axel added nothing to the Citroen small car lineup. But it had one big advantage. It was very, very cheap. A very well-equipped Axel was cheaper than a base model 2CV. Of course, as you can doubt it, it was a commercial failure in France. It had only two advantages over the other cars in Citroen's lineup. The low price and the almost flat boot floor. And it was sold in multiple versions like Axel, Axel 11R, 12TRS, Entreprise, the one that we are reviewing today, and 12TRS Entreprise. People didn't buy the Axel for their quality, they bought it for the price. And what they got was a badly built product from cheap materials built by unskilled workers. This gave the Axel a very bad reputation in France. Sometimes they got delivered with missing parts, fuel reservoirs or brake pads. And there is an urban myth about the Citroen being delivered with wooden brake pads. It is partially true. The wooden blocks were not supposed to be brake parts. Romania didn't have sufficient means to build their own brake pads, so they used brake pad spacers made from wood to ship the cars to France, and the French had to fit their brake pads themselves. So as you can see, the Citroen Axel story is a very, very, very complicated one, and it was mostly let down by the communist Romanian ability to build cars. And of course, as it had to come, Ceausescu's dream became Romania's automotive nightmare. Citroen breaks up the contract with OLTCIT in 1988 because the Romanians were never able to meet Citroen's expectations, and the last Axels were sold in France in 1990. The story is not over because the Romanians continued to build the OLTCIT and sell it until 1996. This made the CITROEN AXEL the last hand-cranked car in the world. So design-wise, as you see, one might say, it just looks like a three-door Visa. Well, it isn't. Guess what? The Visa is modeled after the Axel, and the Axel was first. The Visa was second. And honestly, compared to the Axel, the Visa is really, really, really fucking ugly. Because this looks actually really good. I mean, these cut-up wheel arches that cover a part of the wheel. You have the long door. You have that swooping back that is pretty, let's say, aerodynamic, which it isn't because it's got 50 horsepower and it does 110 maximum. The front, you have these lights that were taken for the Visa later and that are known also from the Citroen C15. You have this nice grille that makes it a bit more chunky, that makes it a bit more better looking. And yeah, in general, it's a very classic, sober line. And there is a lot of interesting things about it, even though it's a very, very, let's say, average and boring car. But I still love it. It's an Axel. So, what do we have engine-wise? The engine is a 4-cylinder flat 4, so it's basically a Porsche. From 50-ish horsepower, 54, 57, something like that. It's a flat 4. It's air-cooled, hence this, which is a cover gets up to temperature, because you have the ventilator here. This is the engine fan that cools down the engine. So yeah, we have a very interesting combination of Citroen solutions. So the air-cooled engine, the flat 4 engine. We have the brake discs that are on the inside of the gearbox, so that makes changing brake discs a pain in the ass, but they have a very good solution for the brake pads, which are you can just pull out. This engine was chosen because what is in the GS. It's a 1.1 liter, 1.2 liter, 1.1 liter, yeah. Axel is behind the camera and he gives me a thumb up because I got it right, because I forgot it. It sounds really nice. It sounds like a flat 4 engine. The history of this engine dates back to about the 1970s. It's a carbureted construction from the 1970s in a car that was built until 1996. So basically, in 1996, in Romania, you could buy an air-cooled 4-cylinder from the 1970s, which, now the fun part is, which you can still hand crank. So you can start it by hand. We have a hole here in which you can insert a crank, which we don't have here because Axel broke it or lost it or whatever. But normally you put the crank in here, you can turn and you can hand crank it. It has an electric starter, but you have the possibility to hand crank it, which in a car from 1996 is very, very unusual, and it's a very old solution to a basically not existing problem anymore, because who cranks cars in the 1990s? I mean, we did in the 1910s, okay, yeah. I mean, Citroen hand crank cars to the 1970s and they were already old school with it. But imagine buying a car in 1996 that you can hand crank. That is something very, very, very weird. Yeah, there's not much to say about this engine except it sounds nice, it drives nice, and it was built in France. That means there is no Romanian metal in there. They did not do the same error as Dacia did with Renault, or Renault did with Dacia, because Renault, for the Dacia, for the Clion engine, the 1.3, they sold the plans to Dacia, and then the Romanians built the engine from Romanian materials, which led to catastrophic engines. This engine is built in France and assembled in Romania. So the Romanians only did the assembly, they did not do the building. And as we know, it's better to not let the Romanians do the building. Yeah. So now let's go into the interior, because there is a lot of interesting things happening in the interior, because it's still Citroen. Welcome to the interior of the CITROEN AXEL, or OLTCIT Club, or, well, it says Citroen here, so it's a Citroen. We have a typical interior of a French car from the 70s. So it is very spacey. You have this characteristic mono branch steering wheel through which you can see the counters that are here, which are very nicely designed as well. I like the writing of the speed counter, and yeah, I mean, the 1970s, 80s. I say 1970s because this car was designed in the 1970s. 1970s and 80s were the years of, they wanted to show you that you're poor and that you cannot afford the highest version. That's why, I mean, normally you could have a RAV counter here, but they just said, no, let's not put a RAV counter. Let's leave everything else and put a big Citroen logo in it. There is an array of buttons here that do a lot of things. You have the check for the brake fluid, which is here. Then you have the hazards, which are here. You have the heated rear windshield and the ventilation that are here. And you have 3 buttons that don't do anything, because it's just, it breaks the style to put only 4 buttons, so we will put 8 buttons, and then we put 3 fake buttons. And they're not even in the right order. So they're just randomly kind of dispatched, just to show you that you're poor. Then you have here on this side, how can I film this best? The controls for the lights. So you have lights off, you have the daytime running lights, normal lights, and rear fog light. The long lights here, up there, and you have the light flash here, which is very cool. It's very innovative, it's very interesting, and it looks the part. Really, it looks very good. Then on this side, we have the windscreen wiper control. So we have 1, 2, that's all. And typically Citroen from the 1970s, 80s, the blinkers are up here. And of course, when you turn around, they don't go back. So you always have to blink, and then we're going out of the turn, you have to push it back. Yeah, and here we have the horn. Typical French car. No horn in the steering wheel, but it's on the side. So yeah, that is it in all its simplicity. You have the choke down here, and then you can open your bonnet here with this fiddly, fandangly thingy. Yeah, that is everything, like from the dashboard. Then going here, you have very basic heater controls. You have hat and shoe, typical French car from the 70s. You wearing a hat, or you're putting the ear on the shoes. Warm, cold. Of course, it is a French car. I say it's a French car because it is designed by French people. You have an ashtray, because what would a French car be without an ashtray? You have these Citroen typical vents that you can find on the Visa. You can find them on the C15, I think. My C15 had them. And that's typical French. And then you have this disgustingly badly made plastic dashboard, which is breaking apart on almost every Citroen Axel and on almost every OLTCIT. And it is also all the colors of brown. You have 3 different tones of brown here. We have dark brown, we have light brown, we have black, we have an even lighter brown on the seats. Yeah, this car is very brown. Oh yeah, and there is a different brown here. And look at it, it has a mirror. It has a mirror for the passenger. It's so luxurious, such a luxurious car from the 1970s for the Romanian people who were not used to luxury, and then they got this, and then they just got disillusioned and killed Ceausescu, which he deserved. It's a 4-speed gearbox, so you can see the shift pattern here. It's a very normal shift pattern. It drives normally. It has quite a lot of play. Classic GS and GSA problem as well. It's just a little bit wobbly. Reminds me of my Panda 4x4, but my Panda 4x4 has broken bushings. This is original. Yeah. So the counters are very nice. Look, you have a battery light, you have an oil light, you have this beautiful fuel gauge that is vertical. You have these very nice speeds, a very nice, very optimistic speedometer that goes until 180. And you can also see, you could have a day kilometer counter, but they just use the same cutout as for the car with the day kilometer counter, and they just put in a piece of plastic. What the fuck? Like, why? Why couldn't you just do 2 different counters? Well, let's ask that OLTCIT. And these are lamps that are in the higher equipped versions. I think that's brake pad wear, your handbrake, and your fuel lamp. I think the fuel lamp, I don't think they have bulbs in them because this is the base version. So yeah, I think Axel told me that, I already forgot. And you also have these beautiful, I don't know if you can see it, screws holding that all together. You can see that Mircea and Radu just said, we don't have enough screws and we don't have the original screws. Yeah, just take the wood screws from your grandfather's backyard. That's how they put together the dashboard of the CITROEN AXEL. You can see that it's made by Romanians. It's just built by Romanians, and you can see it and feel it. There is one storage in the door for your maps. There is none on the other side, because why that much luxury? And yeah, we are in the cheapest and most base version of this car. You can already hear that there is an echo in this car. I feel like I am in a box of ravioli. And yeah, you have steel here. There is nothing covered. In the more richer versions, like in the 12 TRS and whatever, they are covered. The doors also have that very, very characteristic noise of just bare steel. I mean, I'm gonna close them and they're gonna hear it. It's just like, you can hear it echo through the whole car. Speaking of the steel of this car, you can hear it's very empty. And it's not the case on this car, because this car is a very, very good example. It's a very sane example, so there is no rust or nothing. But you can see it on some minor examples that there is rust bubbling in the middle of the panel. Not here, but in the middle. It's just bubbles in the middle. And that just screams made in Romania. Because, I mean, I am part Romanian, and I can say with all honesty, the Romanians are not very good. Like, the communist Romanians are not very good at building cars. We have a lot of achievements also, like Henry Coanda and the turbine engine, but this was not one of our golden greats. You have this very funky and really cool button to open it, so you can grab it by here and open it up. So, it's a van. No, it's a CITROEN AXEL Entreprise, which is the professional version of the CITROEN AXEL. That means you have only 2 seats and a very big cargo area. The thing is, what was one of the selling points of the Axel in France was that the cargo boot, like the loading bay, was very low. So you did not have like a big step here. As you can see, it's just basically as large as my hand. So you had no problems loading it. So you could slide in things very easily and take it back out. That's why this car was used by a lot of companies in France who used that as just their small hole around for their things. And this car was modified a bit by the previous owner because he slept in it, so he has a lamp. He has put a lamp here. These are push buttons for curtains, and these plexiglass windows are not original either because the previous owner broke them and replaced them with plexiglass. Some trivia: these lights were specific to the Citroen Axel, but there's another Romanian car company. Yes, there are others than Dacia and OLTCIT. There is Aro, which is a company of that built 4x4s and generally utility vehicles. I would love to test an Aro one day. If you are in France or in a neighboring country and you have Aro, I want to test one. And these lights were used also on a very specific version of the Aro. I don't know which one. I'll look it up. I didn't look it up. I don't remember it. But these were used also on an Aro. Let's talk about the suspension of the Citroen AXEL, because the suspension is a very interesting part of this car. Again, a very advanced suspension design because it was designed by Citroen. And Citroen had we know with the DS, the XM, the SM, they had and then the 2 chevaux as well, the GS, the GSA. I mean, Citroen was very well known for very interesting suspension designs. So this is no exception. It is realized by torsion bars. I don't know if you can see it here. You have only one shock absorber and you don't have any coil springs. It's because the springs are here. It is this tube and this metal rod, which is basically the spring. That means that you have no domes for the shock absorber, neither in the front nor in the back. So if you look here, you have no shock absorber. You have a very simple torsion bar axle design. You can't see it really well. I'm very sorry about that. But that is also a thing that allows the axle its practicity, its flat boot floor, because you don't have any suspension domes that protrude into the cargo area. So that means, oh yeah, you can see it very well from here. So you have only the shock absorber here, and you have no coil springs. So this all is your spring. You have one big Omega axle, which is your spring, basically what Fiat did as well, but they did it differently. Yeah, so that allows you the flat boot floor. They had the same-ish design also on the C15, which allowed the C15 also to have its boot floor, but they do rot on the C15. So yeah, it is a socialist car built by Romanians, designed by French people, very quirky, very interesting, sadly let down by Romanian negligence and Romanian quality of work. Yeah, let's go for a ride. I'm gonna show you how it drives, because it drives very nicely. Starting it is pretty straightforward. It's warm, so I don't need to pull the choke. So you just push, turn, accelerate, and it runs. Seatbelt, because Although we are in a very, very far and a very, very empty part of France, still seatbelt for security. First gear, normal handbrake. The handbrake is on the front wheels, just like on every front wheel drive Citroen from this era, it's on the front wheels. And yeah, now we drive. This funky steering wheel looks very cool. Squeaks a bit because of Romanian plastics. Blinker. Let's go to the right. So, a very normal driving experience for people who are used to drive Citroens. It accelerates pretty well. You have this characteristic noise of the flat 4 engine. I'm going to close the window so you can hear actually what I'm saying. So you have this very characteristic noise of the flat 4 engine. It pulls really nicely from down low. It's not a very high revving engine because it's not meant to be a sporty engine, but it still makes this nice noise and it accelerates well. Right now I'm at 60 and I'm in 4th gear, and I don't have the impression to drive an old socialist car. I mean, I have driven a lot of old socialist cars. I have grown up in Poland. My father is from Romania. I spent a lot of time in FSO Polonez, in the Fiat 125p and Fiat 126s. My first car that I bought with my own money was a Fiat 126. And this feels like a civilized product. It feels like a civilized car. You don't have the feeling to drive an agriculture piece of machine. Not like, for example, I had a FSO Polonez truck with the XUD9 from Peugeot. It drove like a tractor. It was a socialist car built in Poland. It drove the absolute worst car that I've driven. But here, the driving experience is very normal. You don't have any brake assistance, but it still brakes really well because it's light. It's 800 and something kilos, so it has very good driving dynamics. For example, if I turn like this, yes, it moves. It moves a lot. It is very, very wobbly, but I don't have the impression, I don't have the feeling that it's gonna tip over. We have some ignition problems, but that's normal, it's a Citroen. So I don't have the feeling that the car is gonna tip over. That's what driving a French designed, Romanian built socialist, I wouldn't call it masterpiece, but it's a very interesting very interesting car. So yeah, the Citroen Axel or the OLTCIT Club, it's the same. The only thing that changed was the badge. If you like the Citroen Axel and if you are either Dutch or French, there is this book written by Thijs van der Sanden and translated to French by my friend Axel, who's behind the camera. It's a book that is full of Citroen Axel history and everything about the Axel. You have a lot of pictures, a lot of interesting facts, a lot of, there you can see everything about the Axel. So if you like this book, go to CITROEN AXEL or Amazon and buy this book. It's gonna help my friend very greatly. And also, if you are interested in more Citroen antiques, or if you have a Citroen Axel, be sure to adhere to the Axel Club de France, which is a club recently founded for Citroen Axel owners that helps also in case of problems or anything or spare parts. So Axel Club de France, if you own one, adhere. And also follow my friend on Instagram. He's CITROEN AXEL. I hope you liked that video. Subscribe, like it. See you soon for another special or not so special car, depends. Thank you, bye.